journaling time.
Hey, what's up, party people? How's everybody
Hello.
doing? As you
Hi.
can see, Alex and Alex are in the house. It's not our house, but we're in a house. We're actually coming to you live from Joshua Tree, California right now in a splendiferous Airbnb. If you hear any silly sounds in the background, we've got our pup just going to town on a Kong with some peanut butter in it in the background. So hopefully that's not aggravating any of you folks. Hopefully no people with misophonia in the house.
And if it does become distracting, please do tell us. We can put them in a room.
Yeah. Also, let us know if you can hear the music and us okay. You know, we're kind of out of the studio and out of our normal digs. So we'll try to do our best as we do this one a little bit remotely. I see we got some regulars in the house. What's up, Linda?
Hey, Linda.
Jody's here.
Hi, Jody.
Renee's
Hi, Renee.
here. We got Mandy here.
Mandy.
Awesome. All right. So we'll give, it's journaling time. Yeah. We'll give, you can't hear the music. Interesting. Wait, you can hear the music, not the puppy.
Okay, good. He's rather loud, so that's good.
Pretty gnarly sounds coming out of that little garbage disposal of ours. But, you know, that's what you get when you get a Frenchie of sorts. We've got Gabby joining us from Fallbrook.
Hi, Gabby.
Awesome. Good to see you again. Music is good. Can't hear the puppy. Awesome. Thanks,
Love
Deidre.
that.
Appreciate
Hi,
it.
Deirdre.
Charlene is here. Good to see you again.
Hi.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll give everybody a minute to trickle in. We'll probably get started in a couple minutes here, but we've got a really awesome program for you this evening. Do let us know if there's any newbies in the house so we can let you know how this all works. But also, let me go ahead and just get us situated here. I forgot there's only one circle tonight because we got one camera. Right? Cool. All right. So let's see. We got Kristen's in the house. Nice. Thanks for joining us. So this evening's program, if you've seen some of the promotional stuff going out, is all about the topic of approval. And what we're trying to get to is a place of self-approval. So, you know, one of the things that I think is a huge driver for people that, really gets us stuck is our need for approval. And, this comes to us from a lot of different places. You know, there's different stories we've told ourselves, different experiences we've had growing up, and just kind of the way, it's prescribed as far as how the world works. A lot of us are often orienting ourselves in a way in which we're, seeking permission and approval and the good opinions of others. And that's not to say that we shouldn't try to be good people and show up in the world in a way that is cozy for people, that people like. That said, you got to be living for you. And, you always know what's best for you. And you never want to be in a place where you're yielding, just to score points with someone else, when, especially if what's right is in conflict with that. And so we're going to journal a little bit into that this evening, try to shed our need for the approval of others. And I think what you'll find on the other side of that is a lot of freedom, and also that the most important kind of approval and validation actually is the approval that you give yourself, and actually having that inner critic become an ally is one of the coolest things you can actually do on purpose if you get in touch with the voice and the narration that's going on behind the scenes and inside of your head. So that's our little primer for this evening's program. As per usual, we have 10 prompts for you. We're going to do 3 minutes per prompt, and then we're going to all hang out, share our insights at the end. And I see we got a couple more people trickling in. What's up, Melissa? Crystal's in the house. Crystal's new.
Crystal, welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Hopefully you heard the spiel, and I'm really glad you found us. So what you're seeing on your screen is the Journal Party app. That's available in the Apple App Store, as well as the Google Play Store. You can also access a web-based version at any time. You just visit journalparty.com and there's a link to access that. And all it is a guided journaling platform. So you don't journal into the app. It's actually just meant to prompt you and guide your journaling. So most of us actually write on actual, physical pen and paper. That said, if you want to type or even voice journal, however you want to do it, I think the ultimate goal is self-reflection. But we are definitely big believers in the kinesthetic connection and the magic that happens with when pen meets paper. Let's see. Renee's here, also a newbie.
Hello, Renee.
Welcome. We've Tomorrow Fleming. Hello. Mary's in the house, one of our regulars. Good to see you, party people. Misty's here, also another regular. I love it. I love seeing new names, and I love seeing the same names coming back. It's really awesome that we've kind of formed something that hopefully you all look forward to. I know this is one of the highlights of my week every week, and it's always on Wednesday, right? And by then, like I'm usually depleted. Like I was just complaining to Alex before we got on. I'm like, I'm so tired. But like the second we get on here, I get so excited, and it brings this really just awesome life energy out of me. And so I want to thank you all for showing up and letting us do this little show for you guys. But it's not just for us, it's for all of you. So all right, I think it's a little past 5 after. It's actually 6 after. So I think it's about time to get this party started. So Alex and I will take turns reading the prompts. We'll kind of disappear into the background and journal alongside you. And then at the end, we will go ahead and share our insights. Alex, do you want to do the odds or evens?
I'll do even today. So
even,
you start
Steven.
us off.
All right, I will start us off. Sounds good. All right, let me go ahead and start the starter up here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, your first prompt. Think about a recent situation where you caught yourself seeking approval from someone else. What did that feel like in your body and mind?
Origins Explorer. Write about where you first learned that other people's opinions mattered more than your own. What messages did you receive growing up?
Next one, Fear Finder. What are you most afraid will happen if you stop seeking approval from others? Let yourself explore this fear without judgment.
Mask identifier. Describe a version of yourself that you present to get approval. How is this different from who you really are?
All right, next prompt. Inner critic. What does your inner voice tell you when you're worried about what others think? Write down these thoughts exactly as they come up.
Values compass. When you strip away what others expect from you, what do you actually value and believe in? What matters to you at your core?
Approval giver. Write yourself a letter of approval for something you've been seeking validation for. What would it feel like to give yourself permission?
Mhm. Boundary blueprint. Think of a situation where you said yes to get approval, but really wanted to say no. How could you handle this differently next time?
Celebration station. What's something you're proud of that others might not understand or appreciate? Celebrate it here in your own words.
Freedom vision. Imagine yourself 1 year from now, completely free from needing approval from others. What does your life look like? How do you feel?
All right, party people. Hopefully you found that all right. Let me get our, how do we get us back? There we go. Awesome. Let us know in the chat how you did with that one. Talk about self-approval. I liked it. I thought it was good. How'd you do?
I did pretty good, yeah. I think like many others, my concept of approval first started with my parents. And witnessing their relationship. And, I think for many years after that, I kind of repeated that behavior with my romantic partners, and that wasn't necessarily a good thing. But, I think thankfully after a lot of years of therapy and work on, self-worth, I was able to recognize my own self-worth and also open myself up to healthier relationships, including my marriage. And with that being said, there's still people and instances that challenge my self-worth, but, I think my morals and values are strong enough. I understand, everyone is going through something, and that usually is a reason for people's behavior. So I've been able to let a lot of things kind of roll off my back over the years. And I'm happy with where I'm at with everything right now. So
good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What about you?
Yeah. I mean, this was a really big one for me. I tend to project a pretty confident self to others, but I think that's also a little bit part of the mask. And I really, really do thrive off of getting recognition and validation. And I was kind of looking for the roots of all that, and I mean, it's pretty easy to see. I grew up in a very loving household. I'm really grateful for the family that I had growing up. That said, I think it was a pretty common experience where I learned from a young age that that a lot of the love and recognition that I could get was conditional on certain things, and in my household, it was very much conditional on achievement. I have an older brother he's amazing, and he's about 10 years older than I am, though. So he was way ahead in his life relative to me. But I saw that even though he would bully me the way an older brother would, like pinches and teasing me and all that stuff. So I had opinions about him, but I saw that, like everyone else around him seems to be adoring him and giving him all this love and recognition. And why is that? Well, I mean, I'm not sure if he was valedictorian, but nearly valedictorian, went to Harvard, graduated there in 3 years, was in the Marines, and then just totally conquered Wall Street during the dot-com boom. And I was a kid when this was happening. And so I'm seeing this and kind of interpreting this as a normal life trajectory, and just also seeing how much the people that I loved him for seemingly for all of these things that he was able to accomplish. And so, I think quite naturally, I then interpreted, how I could get that same love and recognition, probably only by having similar achievements. And so, that's been something that I've come to realize over the course of my life. And so I am quite aware of it, but it still lingers. And I do catch myself probably overclocking the value of things like how much you earn, or how much recognition you get for a project that you complete or something like that. And so I have to catch myself, because especially for something like Journal Party, Journal Party isn't quite making me rich. That's not why I do it, of course. But I do catch myself sometimes going why am I spending so much time on something like this if it's not going to make me, get that level of recognition, this kind of recognition that I told myself my entire life that I would need. And so, because of that, I think it kind of removes me from the heart of the matter and actually creating from and leading with the heart. And that's kind of where I ended, especially on the last part, kind of projecting out into the future. What would it look like to be free from this? And I think, it would look very similar, except for I think, living more so in the moment and leading with my own personal heart and my own intuition, as opposed to filtering that through, gosh, what will my mom think about that? Is that something that she can brag to her friends about? It's silly. It's when you put it into that context, but these are very real patterns that play themselves out. And if you don't actually get in touch with that, they tend to repeat themselves. And so, yeah, definitely had some good insights. And, it's always good to reaffirm this stuff and get in touch with it, and, just kind of be here now and sit with it, so that, hopefully your version of whatever your autopilot is becomes a little bit more informed and a little bit more intentional. Also, I had a pretty funny share for the boundaries blueprint prompt. There was a part in there well, how can you deal with it the next time that you might be tempted to sacrifice whatever it is that you would do for the approval of others. And it reminded me, actually, while I was on my bachelor party before Alex and I got married, there was a friend of mine who, he comes up to me it's the first day of this trip that we all went on, and he's like, Gallner, that's my last name. He's like, Gallner, can I crash on your couch when we get back? And I knew that wasn't a good thing. No, of course not. I'm going to be with my future wife after I've just, spent time with my boys in a bachelor party. We don't want you around for this. And I caught I felt the guilt or I at least perceived a guilt trip coming from him. And so immediately I was trying to think of ways that I could concede, and so that I could accommodate this ridiculous ask. And everyone else was looking what are you even asking him this for? And my best friend, my best man, he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, Alex, he was married already. He goes, repeat after me. I'll have to check with my wife. And so I will selfishly use that in the future when I don't want to say yes to something, which I sometimes
I've
do.
already given him permission to use me. Blame it on me. I don't care. I'll take the brunt of it. Whatever it is.
That is awesome and much appreciated. Let me get our music going back again. All right, and we're back. Okay, let's see. We have some pretty cool comments in here. Seems like you guys liked it. Guys and gals, I should say. However you identify. Linda says, I found at my 70s, I'm finally happy with me and don't really care what others think. Yeah, well, I'm glad that trend continues. I have also noticed that as I age, I definitely care way less. Something about, having just lived experience. I think, it's hard for wisdom not to come with that. And so I'm glad that that's one that it tends to come as you have more life experience. Yeah, because you probably see enough things play out where it's just like, okay, I intuitively that you don't necessarily need to worry what others are thinking. Melissa says to Linda, I'm working on trying to get into that. I think turning 50 was a tipping point to letting that need for approval to start going away. Nice. Gabby says, Alex, that's the same way I feel too about my dad and brothers. Yeah, it's pretty common. Like, of course, very common, yeah. Of course, you want your family to love and like you, and so especially when you're young, like you use whatever evidence that you have to try to understand and orient yourself in the world around you. And if you see that they like when certain behaviors happen from others, of course you're going to try to mimic that, and it becomes a whole part of your operating system. But it's kind of a really weird way to orient yourself with that, like more of an external locus of control, and really just giving away all your power because you want people to like and love you. I think it's fairly common, but I don't know that that's the way, right? Misty says, being part of a military family, I realized that my parents would tell us often that the military was at the helm of whose opinions of us as a family was important. Okay, so because you guys were plugged into the system and probably their need for approval to fit into that system. And that's just interesting. Like one of the things I think about a lot is like the roles that we play in our lives, right? Like, you go up and you order a coffee at Starbucks and it's like, hi, so-and-so, what would you like to order? And it's like, you think that person's acting like that normally? No, they're playing a role, and we all have to fit into these roles that we kind of agree upon societally. And it works, like I don't really want necessarily to know like the true personality of the person behind Starbucks. It makes that whole transaction go a lot more smoothly. And so like in some ways that works. But I think like ultimately, when we're considering how we want to show up in the world, like authentically, like it's you have to shed some of that, and it's tough because some of us are in systems that have real consequences, like the military, right? One of the things that I was looking at, like on the Fear Finder one, I think it was, like, what's my biggest fear? Like, what am I so afraid of? Like, why am I so concerned with what other people think? And I really let myself explore that, and it kind of sounded ridiculous or looked ridiculous as I was writing it, but I was writing that like I'm afraid I'll be like blacklisted or cut off, or that like I'll offend the wrong person or something like that, and that will just cut me off from further growth or end my life. And at one point I literally wrote, I'm afraid they will hunt me down and kill me. And like that's kind of the fear. Like I know that's crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but like when I think of like trying to posture myself to show up a certain way because I want people to like me, like the flip side of that is like, whoa, like if they found out who I really was, like, gosh, they'd hunt me down and kill me. And so definitely trying to shed that a little bit. Kristen says, I found public schools set the standard for what is right. So many wrong answers. I have a nuanced life as a 75-year-old. Yeah. So, and I can imagine it was probably even more interesting when you were in public school. And these institutions, that it's by design. Like they want to be able to control you en masse, and there is some utility to that. Like we can't look around and ignore some of the things that society has brought us in a good way, because we've all learned that we need to contribute or else, right? But like if we actually explore that, maybe we would contribute in a different way. Maybe we would actually be better equipped to contribute if we weren't so focused on fitting the mold of others, and we actually got more in touch with, like, I mean, one of the things I wrote down here on the prompt about, like, what do you actually believe about this? I actually believe that we're all creative beings who are uniquely gifted. And one of my missions in life is to really understand my own personal gifts so that I can give, so that I can, leave a mark on the universe in a positive way, because I also believe that we're all connected. And I think that that actually, as much as it would benefit other people, would benefit myself. But like, you can't really get in touch with your unique value if it's outside of that very prescriptive sort of formula of some of these institutions, if you just 100% abide by that system. And so obviously there's some tact that is required to do something like that, because in a society, we all agree on certain things, and some people will fight tooth and nail to hold on to their worldviews and their concepts. And so, navigating that can be pretty tough. But I think that, hopefully if we can lead by the heart and be more, oriented in a way in which we're trying to give and contribute, I think that, at least for me, it's paid off. So just my own personal experience. Linda says, absolutely, Melissa. I treat others with kindness and respect. If they have a problem, it's on them. Yeah. Why live in their headspace if it's going to be garbage? Gabby said, I hated the teasing and picking on me. I have 2 older brothers and I'm the oldest. Yeah.
I reflected on some sibling rivalry myself, and with my older sister. It's tough for sure.
Tomorrow says, I needed this journal today as I'm not working, or as I am working on not caring what others think about me like I used to. Yeah, well, I hope it was helpful. Missy says, I really wanted to join, but I am now taking an online course that takes place every Wednesday night for 5 weeks. I will watch the replay later in the week. Awesome. Yeah, the replays are available. And also, we started releasing smaller programs on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So definitely hit the like button and subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when we release stuff. But we're doing what's called instant premieres on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific. So if you tune in, or if you hit that subscribe and you get the notification, it'll let you know when we release our newest programs. For those Saturday programs, they're a little shorter than this, more like 15 minutes instead of 30 minutes of journaling, with a little less of the talking and stuff around it, but there's still a chat if you guys all want to journal together. So definitely check that out.
And best of luck with your new online course, and we'll see you back when that's finished.
Yeah, for sure. Misty says, I was that older child that was very much an overachiever as well. Yeah, it's like addicting in a weird way. Like you find something that works and you try to keep hitting that button. But like, man, at least I can only speak from my own experience, but that is, it's like a blessing, because like, what to do. Like you figure out like how to get that recognition, but man, I just burn out because I'm, like, that feedback loop is just addictive, and it's nice to feel those good feelings, but man, it's not good to sacrifice yourself in the process. Gabby says, parents always think that they have to have the approval, and I know they can't say that to me. My parents still think differently as a person with Down syndrome. Yeah, well, that's obviously its own struggle. When I was growing up, my mom would tell me to do something. I go, why? And she would go, 'cause I said so. So I would just start repeating that. And that's a story that she's fond of telling. But yeah. Linda says, Alex, you do journal party because it's very dear to you and it means so much. I can feel it every week, bringing people and journaling together. Thank you so much. Well, you didn't have to, but I appreciate your approval and your validation on that. I was giving myself a little bit. I am proud of this. I really think it's awesome that we can come together and, it's not, like Alex's program the other week, it's a safe space for us to all, do work that's not the easiest to do. I mean, sometimes it's lighthearted and gratitude or whatever, but sometimes you brush up against something that's a little bit difficult. And we always want to disclaim that, while we're really good at writing prompts and programs, we have a really great mental health advisory board that's been developing here. But I personally am not a therapist. And so, while I can relate my own experiences and stories on here, definitely always want people to be aware that, if you ever run into something that's a little bit difficult or challenging as you do some of this work, Journal Party was actually born out of some of the work that I did with my therapist. And I resisted therapy for a long, long time. And actually, I don't think if it weren't for Alex, I probably really wouldn't have done it in a serious way. And, if I didn't, there's a lot of really important insights about, my own personal value and how I show up that led to this. And so, you can thank, mental health professionals for how this even started. And I just want to say, as we dig deep into this stuff, never be afraid to get, somebody who's a professional to help you work through some.
Well worth it. Absolutely.
So Tomorrow says, yes, aging makes you not care anymore. I used to see my dad being like that. I was like, I don't know how he does it. Like, how does he not care?
I mean, who I was in my 20s versus who I am in my 30s, I mean, it is just, they're completely different people. And so, I just love that I feel the freedom to cut loose people who I don't need in my life. And, it's so much nicer to live life this way and understand that, oh, right, I don't have to put up with a lot of things.
You can or you can't, but like you get to decide. And it's interesting. After you see that play out enough, it's like, I think I'll do what I want to do.
Yeah, I think I know what I'm doing here.
Sandy says, this is a tricky session since many judge you based on how much you have achieved in terms of monetary and familial milestones, whether you have children. Women without children tend to be ostracized from society. Yeah, and that's terrible. And I obviously don't know what it's like to have that kind of pressure. I mean, I do get a little pressure to have kids, but I'm not the one who'd actually have to have the kid, right? So I can only imagine how much more difficult that is. But definitely the expectations of achievement, it's tough. And it's on one hand, like I sort of value it because it pushed me to really push myself and learn certain skills and become the person that I am. But it's a really tough way to measure. It's a really tough standard to have it be someone else's standard. And that maybe that's some of the challenge here, is that you can never really know like what someone's standard is. Whereas like deep in your heart, if you do something that is good, like you can feel that. And, you don't have to have someone give you permission or their blessings or say anything. You feel it. And I think that's the place I'm trying to get to. Mary says, this one was tough. I went from leadership at working, knowing how I fit. I didn't care what others think because I earned my stripes. Now building my creative career, it matters what people think. Well, Mary, I mean, I've been watching you from the sidelines a little bit as you start to explore, that kind of work. And, I'm with you. It is tough. It's hard to get over that hurdle of like putting yourself out there. And it's even harder to do it in a way where it's authentic and not have that fear of like judgment from other people. Oh, are they going to say that I don't know what I'm talking about? Or, like, is this the way that they, is this the ideal avatar that they want to see? Whatever it is. I mean, a lot of that is I think just head garbage. And the reality is that there's a lot of people out there in this world. And what I've found is that the more I shed, that mask and that posturing, and the more that I try to show up authentically, what ends up happening is I end up attracting better people. Like, you guys are so amazing. Like, the hearts and wisdom in this community are just so amazing. And I don't think that we would have attracted this group if we were all putting out something that, you know, wasn't from that place of, you know, the heart. And so I know it's really scary, but you know, the reality is there's a lot of people out there, and I think that if you continue to put yourself out there, you know, consistently but authentically, the way that you have been, the right people will show up. And you know, that's not to say that you know you always nail it from the get-go. Like, I'm just constantly iterating on the things that I'm creating, and you know, I think it's a much more powerful place to create from, where I'm more trying to satisfy my own creative growth than to, you know, I mean, sure, I would love to have, you know, thousands more YouTube subscribers and more people on this thing, but the other reality is I want them to be like you guys. I don't want it to just be, you know, randoms coming in here. Like, I mean, you see some YouTube comments and other platform comments these days. Like, we don't need that drive-by nonsense, you know? So I think you're doing good work, Mary. I think you need to be nice to yourself. And, you know, of course, if you need any support along the way, we're all here for you.
And I know secondhand, Mary, how hard you've been working on all of your creative endeavors. So continue the good work, because it will pay off.
Mandy said, this one was super hard for me. I'm 51 and I don't feel like I see approval from anyone anymore, but I sure did when I was younger. Well, that's interesting. I don't have enough insight on your own experience, but one of the things, you know, I didn't explicitly put this as a prompt, but something that a mentor in this, you know, in this lane once had me do as an exercise was just try giving yourself some approval. Sit there and see what it feels like. It's hard to do. It's kind of hard to do at first if you're not used to it, but you can literally sit there and give yourself approval for hours on end and just kind of bliss out on that sort of thing. And I think, you know, that might be a fun little exercise for you. Just see, you know, give yourself approval for something stupid, for breathing the right way, or, you know, just like whatever it is. I think, you know, it's a miracle that we're all here on this rock floating through space, sharing thoughts. Like, this is crazy cool. And to like try to get tangled up in like whether or not one of those beings in this crazy cosmic experience likes that, you know, that's not the place to be. So I think you know, continue the inner work. I think you'll surprise yourself. Missy says, yes, I need to set alerts for your channel. Thanks. Yep. Hit the bell. Hit the bell. Gabby says, thank you so much. You're so welcome. Tomorrow says, I appreciate Journal Party as it helped me during a difficult time last year when my husband was hospitalized for 3 months. So thank you. Well, I'm really touched to hear that. That's like, you know, this, I'm not kidding when I say this was helpful for me. You know, like I do sometimes you know, over index or pay too much mind to like, you know, the external stats, you know, the income, the subscriber numbers, the likes, the engagement and stuff. But when I hear that, like, we're touching you in a real way, that you know, it's so much easier for me to give myself permission to keep doing something like this. So I'm really glad you're enjoying it. And yeah, please continue to hang out with us. We love it.
I'm sending you and your husband all the love.
Yeah. Missy says, I have been keeping journals since I was in middle school, and I'm slowly rereading them and indexing themes in a massive spreadsheet that I've written about it. I got more than 150 journals now. That is awesome.
That's incredible, Missy. That's so cool.
And the indexing them, I'm jealous you can read your own handwriting.
Yeah.
Mine's scratch. But yeah, the indexing thing is cool. I actually kind of want to do a video on that. So, I mean, if you're open to it, would love if you could send us an email or a comment or something on what that process looked like for you. What, you know, if you had any specific methodology, any tips or anything like that, because I've got a trunk full of them myself as well. And, you know, every now and then I'll get nostalgic and kind of go through them, but to index it and have stuff that you can specifically reference would be super useful. So I'm really keen on hearing how that works out. And yeah, of course, if you have any tips on how to do that, would love to share that with the community as well.
Good for you, Missy.
Gabby says, what happened to selling the journals? I could not find the link to it. Yeah, so it's still available. If you go to journalparty.com/free, you can get a free journal party notebook. Well, mostly free. You got to cover the shipping and handling, but I bought a bunch of the notebooks and they're sitting in a warehouse, so you don't have to pay for the notebook, but we do have to pay our team to ship it to you. But for a limited time, you can get that, and I would say get it quickly because we're actually pretty low on inventory, and we're kind of debating whether or not we can afford to keep doing that. And so if right now it's a limited edition, so if you want a limited edition journal party notebook, I designed them, kind of ripped off some of my favorite notebook brands in the design process. Sorry, not sorry, but they're great notebooks. And the cool part is on the inside copy here, there's a QR code, and when you scan that, it gets you right into our guided journaling app for easy access. So pretty cool stuff to have. Check that out. Shameless plug. Thanks, Gabby, for the tee up. Linda says, making my bed every morning for the last 2 weeks. I'm very proud of myself, as you should be.
Linda. I made our bed yesterday and I think once last week, and I felt pretty good about it, but this encourages me to try being a little more consistent.
Not bad.
It does make a difference. It really does.
All right, and Missy's going to help us out with some of those pointers. Yeah, definitely. Please drop us a line. You can email me at alex@journalparty.com. And because I see that people ask that question a lot on like Reddit, online forums and stuff. There's, it's a pretty common search term. People are looking, for how to index their journals. And I've seen a few different methods pop up, but, if you're able to effectively catalog 150 of these things, I'm really curious to see what that process looks like.
That's so cool.
Erica says, I was wondering what to do with the journals after, especially with sensitive info. Yeah, so a lot of people do different things. I lock mine in a trunk. Some people will scan their journals so that they're digitized and then like burn them and stuff, so you can put it behind a password. For a while, I was writing in an iPad. They have the Apple Pencil. I don't love the tactile feeling of that, so I always end up coming back to my notebooks for it. But sometimes for really sensitive stuff, if like I really want to unleash, the iPad is a pretty cool way to do that. And if anyone else has any ideas for how to secure this kind of stuff, I mean, because it is sensitive. You are wearing your heart on your sleeve or on the page, and so you want to be careful about whose hands that type of stuff ends up in. But we're not by any means the first people to keep diaries and journals, and so I know they have ones that lock, but yeah, for me, I keep a trunk that I actually have like a padlock on, and that's how I store all mine. Erica says, I have so many different fonts to my handwriting / penmanship. Me too. It's crazy. So not that this is the same as indexing, but I can often do a very quick flip through, like, the way you would with a flip book through my journals. And I can see, just with this, when the handwriting changes, and I can tell like what my state of mind was. Like I definitely have a state of mind that's like a little more manic, like mad scientist-y. And then there's times where like I'm very deliberate and I'm very, around my letters. It's almost like I'm trying to have good handwriting. It's like, whose approval am I looking for there? Maybe my own? I don't know. Maybe if someone ever found
I have big bubbly font. Look at this. I write like a kindergartner, but hey, whatever. I can see it very well. And so when I go back and read my stuff, I can see it. It's quite large.
I think your writing's cute. It's bubbly.
It's very big and bubbly. That's for sure.
All right. Gabby says, I have journals over the last few years. I had over 200. Wow.
Oh, and she typed them up. That's incredible. Oh my goodness.
Missy said, I live alone, but I fear someone reading them when I die. After I index them, I plan to take pictures or scan, encrypt the documents, and throw out the journals. Yeah, and we've been looking into like famous journalers in the past. Some people like wrote in code, like Leonardo da Vinci used to do that, or he had his like own script. Like people get really creative with how they conceal this stuff. And I mean, that's an interesting thought. Like, will people read your stuff after you pass? I mean, I hope that I live such a life that people would want to mine for that. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know that I want them to see these struggles and some of the more vulnerable parts. So maybe I'll curate and section that I conveniently leave out so that people won't go looking for the real journals.
Well, and I've already especially requested, like, burn all my journals, burn all of my writing. My father was a writer, and he has many notebooks that, because he never specially requested that we don't read it. My sister and I plan on doing that. So it's something I think for the people in your life, again, we have an agreement amongst ourselves, what to do in that, and I don't want to cross any boundaries, and I don't want to read his work unless he wants it to be read. So definitely speak to the people in your life about that, because if you're like my dad, we're gonna read it all at some point.
Linda burned hers. I burned many of mine when I was embarrassed and ashamed. Didn't want my kids to find them part of that seeking approval. Yeah, wow, it's like it's an interesting insight there. Well, what is that's happened. But you can always choose in the now how you handle everything going forward. So, I don't know that there's anything wrong with burning the stuff, but it is interesting that you did it because, out of some, consideration for another person. Tomorrow says, Gabby, I thought I had a lot of journals.
Yeah, right.
Erica, I enjoy the feeling of writing. I want to try scribble journal, more of a meditative writing than actual words. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I've seen online someone that does art diaries where they paint, but also have a secret writing that only they can read. Yeah, I've seen a lot of like the code and the script and stuff like that. Pretty cool. I've also seen, there's a massive community of people online who do like the more decorative style journaling, and I always thought that was really cool, like the art journals and the like junk journals and stuff like that. For me, I'm quick and dirty. Like I'm about like, oh my gosh, I'm having way too many thoughts, I'm overthinking, I need to get it out on page, and I chicken scratch until I feel better, and then it's good, and then I come and I hang out with my beautiful wife. Speaking of hanging out with my beautiful wife, we are sitting here in beautiful Joshua Tree, and it's
only 100 degrees.
It's only 100 degrees.
No big deal.
Really smart decision for us to come here in the middle of summer. But we're having a good time, and I think you guys really. I can only speak for myself, but I'm feeling like totally better about like this whole little adventure here. We were a little crabby when we got to our Airbnb, but hanging out with you good people puts us in such a good state. So really appreciate you all showing up for these things. And with that said, I think we're gonna hang out, maybe have a glass of wine, kick back, and play with our French bulldog monster back there. I don't know if he's made any appearance. He's been a good boy. Yeah, he had his Kong, and then he actually decided to relax. So we're gonna hang out with him a little bit and unwind a little bit. But really want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us. We should be back on the regular schedule by next week, because we are coming home later this weekend. But that said, we've already put together the programming for this Saturday's program. So definitely like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Of course, we'll try to post it wherever we can to remind you, but tune in at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I guess that would be 2 o'clock on the East Coast. And if you guys want to hang out and journal with everybody, there's going to be a live chat in there as well as we kind of debut that program. But again, it's going to be a little bit shorter, about 15 minutes. And got some, I think this week's about self-confidence. So kind of play on this good vibes, good feeling yourself. All right, everyone. Anyone, you got anything else to say?
I just want to say, please have a very safe 4th of July.
Keep all your digits if you can.
Yes, please. A lot of crazy people out there, and a lot of drinking, a lot of people on the road. So please just be as safe as possible. And we hope you have a wonderful 4th of July.
Yes.